To me, the BMW M5 has always been exactly what a super sports sedan should be. Beautiful but understated, spacious enough for friends and family, comfortable to drive at high speed to munch the miles on a road trip, and absolutely unexpectedly fun to rip on. This is the M5 from the E39 generation, and I think, after experiencing them all, it's the best all-around M5 that's ever been produced. And for me, it's certainly in the running for the best car of all time. In the modern context of insanely powerful electric sports sedans, I want to start this comparison test with the drive of this M5, as it set the benchmark for what these types of cars should be: fast, fun, and completely under the radar. So let's start here and then get into the 1,000 plus horsepower equivalents of today. I mean, drift machine. Timing, you holding on back there? Just showing how nice it is to toss it around. I am driving what I believe to be is the best sport sedan ever made. It's the BMW E39 M5. And we all know this car's insane history of just being this beautiful, understated BMW 5 Series that has a 4.9 liter, 400 horsepower, awesome powertrain blended with amazing handling characteristics, so I can chuck it into a corner and slide it with ease, one-handed if I wanted to. It's so easy. And of course, this is the car that resurrected modern cannonball runs, and it is featured in many films and movies. It is the pinnacle car ever made, maybe sports sedan ever made, definitely. And it comes from a different time from modern cars. This is back when you would review a car thinking about powertrain characteristics and chassis performance and pedal feel and all of these things that matter still to many enthusiasts today. But when we look at modern sports sedans, we need to then evaluate charging performance and thermal management in terms of battery packs and range and acceleration and traction control tuning. And in this car, I just go traction control off and send it. And you almost can't do that with 1,000 plus horsepower multi-motor EVs, because modern cars require so much technology to be intertwined with the driving experience in order to do superhuman things. This E39 M5 can't do superhuman things. It just is the essence of a perfect driving character. And in my mind, if the modern cars are going to be able to achieve what this car can, they need to feel as natural to slide all day and they need to give the thrill of actually working a machine. It shouldn't feel like a video game on wheels. So in the context of the E39 M5, I've brought along the Lucid Air Sapphire and the Tesla Model S Plaid, which are kind of the ultimate super grand touring sedans of our modern time, to see if they can do what this M5 does. And this M5 can do some wonderful, wonderful things, which I will demonstrate to you right here. I mean, drift machine. Timing, you holding on back there? Just showing how nice it is to toss it around. Let's go see if the Sapphire and the Plaid are as fun. The M5 set the standard for what makes the perfect sports sedan. And BMW still makes the new M5. I mean, they've continued this car through generations. I actually just had one on test and thought they lost everything that this car stood for. I was totally disappointed with the suspension tuning, the NVH. I had the touring version. It was boomy in the back, a million settings that no M5 owner is going to be able to figure out. And while it is fast and impressive. It's now showy and wide and just didn't have that understated character that I loved so much from this and even the E34 M5 and others that I'm sure you guys can appreciate with me as well. Super amazing to get to drive this car here today, owned by my best friend Ben. Really big shout out to him for letting me drive it and hoon it a little bit for you guys for the intro of this video. So in the context of how good the M5 set the bar, just insane levels of engineering went into this vehicle. Let's talk about these two, because in the modern context of electric cars, and really cars as a whole, these two represent kind of what the M5 always did. Understated. This looks just like a normal Model S, even though it's the Model S Plaid. Track capable. Well, it's got big carbon ceramic brakes and a bunch of software to help with track performance driving. We'll see how that plays out today. And of course, in terms of a road trip, this has direct access to Tesla's amazing supercharger network with decent range and is a really nice car to do long driving in. And that's why I bought it. I've driven this car for 3 years because I love super sedans. And now this has come out, and we're a little late to the party to test this one, but this is the Lucid Air Sapphire. It's the newest, craziest, absolutely insane thing that takes a little bit of what the Model S was able to achieve, sprinkle in a little bit more, maybe Porsche sports car stuff going on. And then you've got this, which is a very roomy, very luxurious, very understated supercar killer, which again has a top speed of over 200 miles an hour, software to help on track, very good in terms of a road trip with a pretty big battery and decent charging performance. And the similarities between this and the Plaid are really strong. What's crazy though is this costs $250,000. The Model S Plaid's about 100 grand. So, in this video, we got to see if they drive $150,000 different. Sapphire and Plaid. The reason I've brought these two here together for this video is to just talk about the subjectivity of driving feel, driving involvement, what the cars stand for, again, in the context of that M5 setting an insane bar for what a super sedan should be. So we're going to jump in the Model S Plaid. We're going to do a couple laps of the track, drive it slow, drive it fast, and hit some corners to see how it performs from a chassis perspective, a powertrain perspective, and from a software perspective, because software is increasingly important in the context of modern cars. And we'll discuss its track mode capabilities and everything that's going on here. The Sapphire will do the exact same thing. This also has a track mode. We'll drive it around slow, medium, fast, and really see what the difference is and if the money difference is worth it, because you can pick up used Plaids for 40 grand now. And so that's kind of an insane difference. This, if anything, is just more of a fun comparison. If you're curious about charging and range and all 10% challenge and all the other stuff, you can look at a bunch of different content that we've done on both of these cars, mostly on our testing channel for the test stuff. But for now, we're just going to drive them, see how the Model S feels, see how the Lucid feels, and that'll be the video. So you joined me out for a drive in the Model S Plaid now, and this car has received a ton of controversial feedback from its early days of inception. First of all, it was the brakes that were the problem, and I agree, I was on that train as well. The standard brakes that come on the Tesla Model S Plaid are not equipped to handle consistently stopping this 1,000 horsepower, 5,000 plus pound vehicle over and over. It took a while after start of production for Tesla to come out with the fix, but finally they came out with the factory Tesla Model S Plaid track package. And that comes with carbon ceramic discs that are great. And it also unlocked the top speed to over 200 miles an hour. So when you get the factory Tesla brake upgrade, you get the performance improvement, you get a different software for track mode, and this car has that. So this is that really woke the car up in terms of a performance characteristic, because then I could pound on the car all day, and the ceramic brakes have been truly amazing. But of course, we'll get into the track driving, the performance stuff here in a little bit. I just want to touch on some of the other topics we brought up when we were driving the M5, which were long distance capability and stealth ability, if you will. The super sedan is supposed to be a daily driver, that it's not flashy, no one's really going to notice you, and no one notices this car. Teslas blend in absolutely everywhere. No one would have any idea if this is a long range or a Plaid. I took the badge off the back. Maybe the keen eye could tell that this one has the ceramic brakes on it, but I don't think anyone ever has in the time that I've had this car upgraded with the track pack. And so it really flies under the radar, which is, I think, a fantastic thing. The next is the ability to put a ton of miles on. These are supposed to be cars to do everything, including road tripping. And yes, this car has been a fantastic road tripper. I've driven this car across the country and on many other trips, many times in my 3 years of ownership, and it's been a great travel companion. It has decent range, actually range that I've never needed more range than this car has ever given me. It pretty much can always do about 280 miles no matter how I drive it. On the Aero wheels, on these bigger wheels, it's like 250 miles if you're ripping it on the highway, and that works pretty well for my driving style because I like to stop and charge, and that works well. And when you do stop and charge, this is actually the best road tripping Tesla that you can buy. It has a decent charging performance to about 50% state of charge, maybe even up to 70% state of charge you can get there, and it's a fun road tripper. Certainly it's not going to match what a gas car can do on a road trip, but the ability to start every day with a high charged battery, 80%, 90%, whatever you decide to charge to every day, to me offsets the time it adds on a road trip for most scenarios. So I really do love having, this great long distance capability, still bearing in mind the fact that it's an electric car, but it's never been a problem for any of my driving. So now we can get to how it drives. First thing I'm going to do is actually drive it in its standard profile. So we're going to go here to the Plaid mode, and I'll put the suspension into the factory sport suspension setting. And we're out here at the Out of Spec Track to evaluate these cars, and I've just actually upgraded this car with the new Plaid sport seat interior. Timon, you hanging on? He's in the back filming. Yeah. He should be good. We're just going to go for a general run, and what I'm looking for here is feedback from the car. I'm looking for a relatively compliant chassis because, again, we're driving sports cars that most people aren't going to go out and drift around or race around on track days. But I'm looking for a nice balance of the vehicle, that the inputs are weighted properly, that the steering feels nice. And I have to say, just driving it like this, I also know this car very well. It doesn't actually perform that well in this type of driving scenario. The biggest issue is actually the traction control software. There is someone at Tesla who put a G limit in this car that when you're really flying through a corner, even without any rotation, it just starts pulling power back. And in my impression, the car should feel natural. It should work with me. I have 2 electric motors that are mechanically unlinked on the rear axle of this car. It shouldn't be holding me back coming out of a corner. It should be pushing hard on the outside, not necessarily getting the car to rotate, but just naturally working with me with whatever the tires have in terms of grip that's on offer to get me down the road. And I feel like I'm constantly fighting these traction control systems. Yes, we will turn that off in a bit and the car wakes up massively, but there's a couple other things to discuss here as well, and that's the suspension system on the car. What's odd is when I drive the car normally, comfortably, the suspension's all over the place. And I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but the new Model S Plaid has an updated suspension system, so it's worth it, to reserve final judgment until we drive the updated car. But I don't think it's going to adjust the overall character of the vehicle that much. I think they mostly focused on the rear end, making that less porpoisey. This car drives pretty bad, actually, on a day-to-day basis. It's wallowy, it's kind of all over the place, it doesn't feel planted, it doesn't give you this super straight highway cruiser vibe that I would look for, in a super sedan to say, yeah, this car is a very well-engineered piece of kit from a chassis perspective. However, when I drive it harder out here on track, certainly there's some electronic components in the damper system that can be adjusted, and it's on air spring, so that can change quite a bit as well. But the car actually starts to feel a little bit tighter, and it likes to turn a little bit more, and just until the point where you start leaning on the traction control systems. Here I'm like matted, and I'm just fighting, leaning on the systems. Let's go! it goes without saying this car is unbelievably fast. And I'll show everyone some of the performance down the straightaway as well. And we'll have plenty of other videos highlighting sort of timed lap runs, stuff like that. But what I'm essentially saying is the faster I drive the Model S, almost the better it gets. And it feels like it's definitely okay with this type of stuff, which is odd because that's something that you would kind of not expect. Usually cars get worse the harder you push them. And here, feels pretty nice. You know, we're right on the edge of that front tire, little rotation when I lift. And if I'm gentle enough on it, I can just stay under the whisper of the ESP systems. I say that as it's grabbing brakes. So with that, let's put it into track mode. Now, one major annoyance with track mode in the Model S Plaid is you have to be stopped and in park to put it in track mode. That inherently is like, well, no one with any performance driving ever drove this car or tuned this car. I don't know what warnings and whatever stuff they make you read on here, but it should be able to just be, you do it once per profile and then you accept the use of track mode. In that BMW, I can hit 2 buttons, Sport and DSC off, and I'm sideways, and it's great. In the Sapphire as well, I can turn everything off and I'm sideways. Here I've got to go into park, then go into drive, and then we're off. I should mention we're running factory tire pressures for this comparison just so I can get a good feedback. And this is where the driving review more or less starts for this type of driving. Now, in my experience with Model S Plaid Track Pack, track mode software, I'm going to keep it in 50-50 handling balance and maybe even slightly forwards. It's a weird thing, but the car is super oversteery, and just keeping that balance right in the center helps to get some pretty good lap times and good feel in the car. Stability assist will turn down, and regenerative braking is now increased when we hit track mode, so I get more off-throttle recuperation. And yeah, let's go see how the Model S Plaid feels with it in its specific track mode settings, which adjust powertrain, ESP, suspension, steering, other components as well. So instantly coming into a corner, we have pretty high lateral grip, unbelievably fast coming out of a corner. It's insane how much performance this car has. And again, just cruising through here, but now I'm able to actually send it through some corners, which is a really good feeling. Leaning on the brakes, ABS is staying out of the way for this sort of gentle cruise. We're coming out, little neutral steer, still some stuff happening, but I'm rocketing down the straightaway now, and it's so freaking fast. It's crazy. I mean, it's 150 miles an hour past the start-finish line, and that's not even coming fully lit out of the hairpin. It's stupidly fast, and the brakes feel amazing as well. These ceramics are right up there with the best of the best, and you can pound them all day, right as I'm demonstrating to you here, and it just slows down, and it's great. In terms of the tactility of the drive, that feels fairly similar in the sense where it's a pretty big car, and you're still running on the limitations of the chassis setup that it left the factory with. But, timing, you all right?
Yep.
But it actually feels fairly decent. There's just not much feedback coming in. So the steering's fairly numb. Not trying to slide it right now, sorry. The steering's fairly numb, and there is quite a bit of lateral grip. It doesn't really feel like a cohesive package. It's a little twitchy, a little darty, a little weird, and it feels stressed. I think that's the feeling to come away with, which even though it's capable of doing these things, it just feels like the chassis is being asked to do something it's not really loving to do. It spins real quick though. When you get a big rotation in, it just goes, and that's part of the weight distribution of the car and also the tire setup, where if you are going to drift a Model S, you got to be pretty quick on the wheel. And maybe one last comment before we end this portion, because I'm really looking forward to the back-to-back with the Sapphire, is when I bought this car, it had a yoke steering wheel on it.
Gross.
Stupidest thing that they could have ever done. Round steering wheels are needed for a performance car, and maybe that should have told me everything I needed to know about this car when I bought it. In my 3 years of ownership, I've never fallen in love with this car. It's been very effective. It's done its job. It's just never really been the it car for me that I was hoping it would have been from the day that I bought it. And, you know, that's not to say it's an amazing car and has great driver assistance with FSD and all the other stuff that I really do appreciate. It's just, I park this car, walk away from it, and I never really think about it until I have to get back in and drive it again. Versus the M5, I park that car and I just can't wait to get back into it to drive it again. Let's go drive the Sapphire and see if it can do a little bit better than the Plaid can. Now you guys join me in the Lucid Air Sapphire. First of all, exclusivity has gone up. There are so few of these cars on the road in comparison to the others. And I think that's interesting. It's kind of cool if you see one of these on the road. First of all, you can spot that in a few different ways. It's the only Lucids that are painted in this sapphire blue color. It has a slight wide fender and a carbon lip off the rear, and that's kind of it. Of course, wheel, you can see big brakes, you could see, but I do like how the Sapphire has a slight bit of bodywork touching to it, just to make it, yeah, totally subtle still, but you can spot one if you're in the know, which I think was always kind of cool. You could spot an M5 if you were in the know, you still can, things like that. So let's go drive this thing, and I've got it dialed up into the Sapphire drive profile, none of the track modes, and just see how it feels. And the first issue that I have with this car personally is the seating position of the Lucid Air, and it's something that is, for me, I could just never get comfortable in these cars, and even less so in the Model S, but the Model S isn't perfect either. It's just the Germans know how to do a great seating position, and for some reason Tesla in the Model S and Lucid here in the Air, I just can't get low enough and the wheel doesn't come out far enough. Not an issue at all, even in modern day, you know, E-Class AMGs or M5s or things like that, 911s, no issue in those cars whatsoever. It's just these two cars, for whatever reason, I just feel like I'm always reaching for the wheel and sitting on top of the car rather than in the car, which of course is the nature of having a battery pack beneath you, so that doesn't help either. Driving this car, well, let me just discuss what it's been like to drive this car for the last 3 weeks or so that I've had it. And the first thing that it does incredibly well is the daily drive, the fun daily drive. It's actually way more engaging and way more composed to drive quickly on a back road than especially the Model S, but almost than any other car. I've spent a lot of time in Taycan as well, and I always go back and forth on which do I prefer in terms of an enthusiast drive, because they have two completely different strategies on suspension control. Porsche has Active Ride in their Taycan Turbo GT with insane, you know, being able to roll into the corner and counteract acceleration and braking forces. If you're sliding, you can jam the outside rear wheel into the pavement to give you a better traction out of a corner. And the thing is, when that system's working, you know that there's a system working underneath you at all times, and you are impressed by it, at least I am. It's really cool to feel it work. But again, it's just a lot of tech and things getting you down the road. Surprisingly, in the Sapphire, there's almost no active components to this car's driving. It uses a mechanical metal sway bar, for example. It has no air suspension. It has no hydraulic anything in the suspension. It just uses an electronic damper to give it a wide range of character, from a comfortable daily driver to a very sporty back road blaster, which is extremely impressive. So it does that really well, and I just have to commend Lucid on, I would say, going with, on paper, what looks like, oh, did they really take the engineering time? But they made themselves a really honest and amazing chassis and settings for all the bushings and the layout of all the metals and bars and springs to just make this car feel so natural going down the road. It actually feels closer to the E39 M5 than the new M5 feels to it. And I mean that in the sense that it's you and the car, and you know what's happening, and it's so honest. So have to commend the Lucid chassis guys on making an absolute masterpiece here. and the steering's amazing. This car loves to turn and turn and turn and turn, and it never stops turning. And that really gives you confidence on a back road to push harder and to enjoy what this thing can offer. Road tripping the Sapphire, really quick, I want to mention. The car is very close to the Model S in range. It definitely has more range than the Model S Plaid, but we're talking maybe 15 to 20% more. It's not life-changing. I think for most people, it's going to be just fine. The downside is this car does not integrate with Tesla superchargers that well. It can only charge at 50 kilowatts on all existing superchargers that are open to this car, and that's because there's no real high power boosting power capable for this car. So you do have to use third-party charging networks, which are getting much better. Ionna, BP Pulse, others are getting better. Electrify America has better reliability, but it's certainly not going to be as easy to road trip as the Model S would be. You just have to be a little bit more of an enthusiast, I think, to get this car on a road trip as seamlessly as you would with the Model S. Lucid solved that with the Gravity, so hopefully they can bring that technology and trickle it down here to the Lucid Air Sapphire, because that would just be great. The Gravity, you can road trip just like a Tesla. Hopefully one day you'll be able to do the same type of thing here in the Sapphire. I think the owners of this car, the Pinnacle, deserve that. Stealth we've already discussed, just insane, and now we get to its driving character. So the craziest thing with this car is, of course, the acceleration, which pulls even harder than the Model S Plaid does. I mean, insane. We came out basically stopped out of the hairpin. I mean, way slower than we did in the Model S. And we were still 150 miles an hour past the start finish. It's unbelievably fast. And to be honest, getting out of one car and into this car, they both give you that same stomach in your what is the stomach in your face? I don't know the saying, but you feel your stomach drop when you floor it in both cars. And the straight line acceleration is insane. It is certainly not worth spending more money on the Sapphire over the Plaid if you're going to go drag racing or if you're going to do straight line stuff, because this car is not that much faster than the Model S is. Give me 1 second. So what's it like when you start driving it a bit quicker? What I'm looking for from this car is, because of its chassis being so much better designed and engineered than the Model S, is just a more natural feeling. I can put it into a corner with much more steering precision, much better weighting on the front end. I have so much more immediate feedback coming into the car. And I'm not talking this is a Lotus Elise for steering feel, but just in the context of the Model S, this car really has amazing steering precision and feel. This corner, if we hard accelerate out of it, we'll be able to see how the traction control systems are. If you start relying on them, you can see it's understeering a little bit there, and then we get straight and it unlocks and rips. Now that didn't feel all that great to me. I would be looking for more torque vectoring happening on the rear axle to help get the car turned a bit more, and then off we go. It's also the first time I've ever driven a Sapphire where it felt understeering. But again, most of the time I've driven this car hard, I've had it in its track mode. But if we come screaming along through this corner here, the car has a nice natural roll tendency to it. It feels soft, but it doesn't feel uncontrolled at all. In fact, it feels the opposite. I can drive this car so delicately and lift off and let it tuck into that corner right there. It's just a wonderful package, and you can tell it's cohesively designed and engineered from chassis and powertrain for the whole vehicle dynamics portion, which make it feel wonderful, really wonderful. And just sitting around here, it's doing a little bit of ESP stuff to stop me from rotating too much. But you can kind of be a little bit of an idiot in this car, even with 1,000 horsepower, and you can see the systems are opening up. It feels so much more natural, even without a track mode on, than the Model S felt in its normal key up setting. And I think that's something customers will appreciate when you're out on the open road, just letting the car let you have more access to its inherent performance without the nannies coming in all the time. It feels amazing how well this car can get around this track for the size. Should we go into track mode, Timon? Sure. How you feeling back there?
Hanging on for dear life.
What's your impression really quick? I'll take the mic off. Let everyone just car to car from the backseat, what does it feel like?
So much more intense than the Plaid.
Intense how? In terms of speed, you mean?
Speed, feel, everything seems way more planted in this and more visceral.
Interesting. Yeah, I was curious if you could feel that from the backseat, because up here it's a night and day driving experience. We'll go into the hot lap setting. The car's not conditioned. We'll turn stability control off, which you can do while moving. Tesla. Why do I have to put my car in park every time I want to drive it hard? It infuriates me. And let's go. Oh! It just makes you go dizzy. It's so fast. But that's not the point of this car. Ignore the acceleration, because the tri-motor system, gives you 1,200 plus horsepower and a ton of torque. It's all about the feeling of how everything works together, how the chassis works with the powertrain, and how it gets through the corners. So now let's hustle it through on these PS4S's. Even then, amazing rotational character. So easy to slide. And again, I got out of it, so we weren't doing these big long drifts, but just the ability to tuck the car right in. It turns better than I would expect it to. It's amazing how this car can just get right through everything. Look at that. All day long in a Sapphire, and the transition back to straight was so easy. I came out of the throttle because I don't want to kill the tires. I'm just here to have a little bit of fun, get a little rowdy with it, and it's with me. It's like, how do you want to play? Do you want a little bit? Do you want a ton of sideways actions? Are you looking for more stability? And I can kind of set the car up at the beginning of a corner for what I'm looking for, and it's right with me. So like here, stability. Here, sideways, let's go. Sending it sideways, standing it right on the brakes into the corner. And I want to get it set up for the straightaway, so we're trying to go straight here. Let's go, get the power down, and boom, she's off. It just unlocks this whole different character of extreme straight line performance blending with the ability to corner. Now, does this car feel as natural to drive as a typical limited slip differential in the rear axle, where I have mechanical connection between the two wheels? No. And I actually think Lucid could do a little bit of work on really any tri-motor system I've ever driven. Needs a little bit of work on how those two motors interplay with each other on the rear axle. I've never driven one that feels natural. I almost prefer an open differential in the back to individual motors that are software controlled with each other. And I'm still waiting on a car to convince me that that is the correct path forwards. Perhaps that's why Porsche has stuck with a single motor on the rear axle with a limited slip mechanical differential between them. And I wish we had a Taycan here to demonstrate, because while that car doesn't feel as natural as this car does from a chassis perspective, the Taycan feels more natural from a powertrain perspective than this car. That is not to discredit the performance and efficiency and everything this powertrain can do. It is just an inherent limitation of relying on software controls versus mechanical controls when it comes to cross-car torque vectoring. This car is clearly designed to be a supercar killer on track. It is designed to be a daily driver, and it is also a dragster. It's kind of the one car to do it all. It's amazing. But is it better than the E39 M5? We can deliberate that in a minute, and we will. But I think it's worth giving Lucid credit for building this car. It's a halo product. You won't see many of them out there. But certainly they have something special here. And what's nice is a lot of the qualities of this Lucid Sapphire translate to the normal versions of the Lucid Air. I had a long-term loan with the Lucid Air Grand Touring, and to be honest, a lot of the positive things that I say about the Sapphire, I could say about that car as well. And it just goes to show that when you really focus on a great driving vehicle, it can translate from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. And I really hope Tesla, when they redo the Model S properly next time around, not just a mid-cycle, refresh or update, I really hope they focus on making that car more tactile, more of an enthusiast driver's car. Yes, the world is going to autonomous cars. Yes, Tesla is clearly winning the race, in my opinion, from the outside looking in. And I love that and appreciate that. And I know why anyone would buy a Tesla just for FSD. because I really do enjoy that. But I also really enjoy this type of driving. And this car is so much better than almost any other electric or combustion sedan on the market. I've driven pretty much everything new that's coming out, and maybe other than like Panamera that's this size, this is still more agile and way faster. This car is really amazing. But let's park it next to the M5 and then we can think about all this for a second, because have cars improved or have we gone downhill from the glory days? Unsure. So after a quick drive in all three cars, I think I have a really good idea of what's happened with sports sedans from the past to the future. Of course, we didn't really touch on any of the context of combustion modern sports sedans, but I don't think any of them are that great, to be honest. They're getting riddled with hybrid technology that makes them clunky to drive, and they're really odd and awkward from a technology perspective, and I really don't think any of them are that great. That's just my impression. I recently drove the Porsche Panamera Turbo e-hybrid, and I was like, that's cool, it's very effective, but man, is it just too much stuff going on. I think you go 3 pedals or 1 pedal, and that's where you get maybe down to the boiled down to the essence of what a car should be. So here with the Model S Plaid, amazing straight line performance for the money. You cannot ignore that. And if you factor in the extra $15,000 to $20,000 that the track pack costs you, this is about a $120,000 car. In today's money, this one a lot more than that, because I bought it when they were more expensive, of course. It's really feeling old is the best way to put it. The technology is fresh. The FSD system is second to none, but the car feels old, in the sense that the chassis is, years old. I mean, yes, when they went to the refresh design on this Model S, they rearranged a lot of things, but I just think they need to redo this car and really smash everyone in terms of making it compliant and nice and lovely to live with, but then even way more sporty and way more holistic of a driving experience, where they can get the chassis team and the powertrain team and the vehicle dynamics team and the steering team and the braking team all in one room and bring that into one control strategy, rather than it really feeling like, well, a different set of people did the brakes, then did the steering, etc., etc. Put them all in the same room, make that cohesive. So this clearly is not better than what the E39 M5 was able to achieve. This gets really close. And it's a whole nother league above the Model S in terms of driving character. Ignore the tech stuff for a second. In terms of the driving performance, this is a whole nother level. It's docile and soft and compliant in the daily drive. It's texture and feedback that you get from the road through steering, and the perfect amount of frequencies that come through your body through the seat is tuned from a modern car standpoint second to none. And it gets even better knowing that this is just done with springs and bars and not hydraulic air, all the other stuff that everyone else has resorted to. This is an honest, true, authentic driving experience that almost can't be bought or found anywhere until you get up to sports cars. I'm talking, GT3 type stuff. Yes, very different character of vehicle, but just in terms of the feedback that you get as a driver, you would not expect that from something like this, of this size category and technical capability in terms of battery and charging and range and all the other stuff. It's a really impressive package. It does feel a bit awkward when you really push the car hard beyond its limit of lateral grip in the tires. You get the sense that, yes, it can get you to slide and recover, and it can do big drifts, but I always feel like even in track mode with stability control off, it's not off. And so I know there are some systems in the background helping me not swap ends, not get a huge wheel flare, and not do some other stuff that the car is always in the background kind of helping you out. And I feel like I'd still have to lean on the systems and push on the systems a bit to get the car to do what I want it to do. Now that is in a very extreme driving scenario. Everything up to maintaining a giant skid at high speed this car feels and performs better than almost anything. And then this, remove a couple thousand pounds, remove a couple motors, and add 3 pedals. Well, I guess add 2 pedals on those, and you have truly what set the benchmark, and even today still feels modern. It's unbelievable driving this car, which is a 100,000 mile example, nearly, M5, and it still has eagerness to accelerate. The engine and exhaust note is unbelievable. The shifting feel is typical BMW rubbery, but you can always get it in. It's the perfect length, and I love that. Maybe because I grew up driving BMWs and Minis, but I love the way this car drives. And it is peak authentic to drive hard. I mean, this car, limited slip diff in the rear, mat the throttle coming out of a corner, and you can just lean it on those tires that are fully lit coming out of any corner, and it is so responsive, yet not harsh in any way whatsoever. You can get this car to do anything you want it to do at any moment in time, and it does exactly that. And the chassis is perfect, the powertrain is perfect, the car's design is perfect. I think maybe the most beautiful car ever made, especially that rear 3/4 view is insane. And yeah, this is still the better car. And you can pick them up for like 30 grand used. So just do that. But if you want to buy a new battery electric car and you care about all that stuff, that's pretty great as well. Model S Plaid, if you just want to go fast in a straight line and have FSD, pretty good. But if you care about driving, not the car for you. The Sapphire is a worthy next generation vehicle to this. But I would almost argue, we talked about combustion sports sedans, maybe the CT5 Blackwing would be the appropriate third car to have here instead of the Plaid. That would be kind of interesting to do. M5, Blackwing, Sapphire. This is all we had here at the track today, of course, and still trying to answer the question. Is this a worthy super sedan? Yes, no question, actually. This is a worthy super sedan. Is it better than the E39 M5? Maybe the greatest car of all time? No, but it's pretty damn close. And it will go down in history as certainly a really cool feat of engineering that Lucid took electric powertrains and put the best chassis team in modern automotive together to build a really cool car. So shout out to you guys for watching. Just a fun little extra video we shot here at the track today, and we'll see you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.